The Bible says that he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was upon him, and by his wounds we are healed. Whatever you've gone through, I know of mothers that have died of a broken heart. I know of fathers that have died of a broken heart. I know children that are not well because they have a broken heart, and they just can't take it and they give up. Well, I don't really understand this, but I know that every broken heart, Jesus Christ bore that on the cross. He carried every pain that I've ever suffered and that I will ever suffer. Every heartache that you've had, he bore it and will bear for you. No one is a friend like Jesus. Make them think you're happy. Lie and say that things are fine, and hide that empty longing that you feel. Don't ever show it, just keep your heart concealed. The day is so lonely. I wonder where can the heart go free? And who will dry the tears that no one sees? There must be someone to share your silent dream. Like a leaf in the wind, looking
evening, everyone. Trust you're doing well. I trust you had a great day. Welcome to this another program, The Counselor. And so we want to be sharing with you this evening. Someone requested that we look at extend some more on the whole matter of forgiveness and unforgiveness. And so this evening, we are going to be asking persons to call in and for us to have a discussion. Reverend Thomas and I will be sharing with you, but we want persons to just call in and to hear their views. If they have questions, we'll try to answer your questions. You could share your story, right? Without calling names, of course. Yes. So that's what we'll be doing this evening. So we'll be doing less talking, but we are expecting persons to call. And it's 584-0570, 421-4675. But for this evening, right, you're going to be calling the 421-4675 number. So the number to call in is 421-4675. Although that request is about forgiveness, if you have other issues and you'd like for us to share with you or you'd want to share them, you could call in as well. All right? So I'll ask my producer to just play the song some more as we await your calls. This is The Counselor.
Words of a prayer, and you'll find him there, arms open wide, loving his eyes. Jesus, he meets you where you are. Jesus, he heals your secret scars. All the love you're longing for is Jesus, the friend of a wounded heart. Joy comes like the morning. Hope deepens as you grow. And peace beyond the reaches of your soul come flowing through you, for love has made you whole. Once like a leaf in the wind, looking for a friend, where could you turn? You spoke the words of a prayer, and you found him there, arms open wide, love in his eyes. Jesus, he meets you where you are. Oh, Jesus, he heals your secret scars. All the love you're longing for is Jesus.
All right. Yes, we are waiting your calls. All right. Some weeks ago, about 3 weeks, 2 weeks ago, thereabout, I looked at the benefits of forgiveness in the family. I also look at unforgiveness in the family and the negative effects that it can have on the family, the psychological effects, the social effects, the physical effects, the spiritual effects. You know, when we choose not to forgive. And remember I said that unforgiveness is a choice. Yes, just like when you choose to be a part of a group or not, or wear this or not, or eat this or not. unforgiveness is really a choice. I choose not to forgive this person because I don't want it. It makes me feel good, or I may feel silly if I, forgive someone or apologize to them. Right? So an unforgiveness in the family, it really hurts the family. It caused the family to be separated. It caused individuals in the family not to be able to function properly as they interact with other persons. So we should really seek to forgive each other, not only in our blood-related family, biological family, but we should seek to forgive each other in the church. And I did say, because we are different personality, different socialization, different worldviews, we will cross each other's path. We will step on each other's toes. Yes, and so we need to be ready and willing to forgive persons. And as we think about the family, look at teenage pregnancy, incest, damage of items, furniture, figurines, etc., unfaithfulness with our spouse. A family member may cause a death or an accident, abandonment, failure of an examination, lying, stealing, etc. And sometimes as family members, we really hold it against the other person for years. As a person, I'll never forgive because of what you have done for me. We think about that situation which is before us now in Trelawney, where one sister, got this hitman to kill her sister. Very, very sad. And that can cause big issue in a family, yes? That the family could become bitter for life. As they look on and say, why you did it? I'll never forgive you because of what you did to my sister. Or in the community is affected, yes? As a real situation, as we looked at the news even last night, where the communities, said that, boy, she's wicked and so on. Yes, so the community is hurting right now, and right now they are struggling with unforgiveness towards the sister who is now incarcerated, So unforgiveness is very hard, but it is something that we choose to do. It's an unwilling, is when we are unwilling to and unable to forgive someone for hurting, betraying, breaking your trust, or causing you emotional pain. But with the help of the Holy Spirit, we can forgive someone. Yes, I'm inviting persons to call in. I don't want to talk the whole night. And Pastor will be coming shortly as well. But I want persons to call in and to share their views. When we think about unforgiveness in relationships, unforgiveness in the church, unforgiveness in the community, the issue before, as I said, the most recent thing is the matter of how the sister paid a hitman, so to speak, according to the news, to kill her own sister. Right? And this is a family issue, but it is also a community issue, because right now persons in the community, they are very angry towards the sister, because of what she has done to her own sister. All right? But then, if you were in that family, how would you feel? How would you deal with it if you were neighbors to them or community, live in the community? What impact would that have on you? Yes? We invite you to call in. All right? When we choose to harbor unforgiveness, some of the psychosocial effects are anger, depression, body pains, shortness of breath, lack of productivity, It disrupts the harmony and flow of a relationship. Some of us will develop high blood pressure and other related illnesses, anxiety, depression. Some of us go around with guilt, yes, and resentment and bitterness because of the unforgiveness that we are holding against the person. So the bottom line is unforgiveness is not healthy, right? It is not healthy. Although some persons have malice for years, it is not healthy. One of the questions I ask in my presentation is there a family member that you have not forgiven? Because we have heard of it so many times where there are ongoing feud between families, and over time persons become so angry, so cold, so bitter towards the other family member or the worker or the church person, yes, that they decide that I might as well I put you away. Yes, because I hate you so much. I will never forgive you and I hate you so much. So might as well I put you away. But is that healthy? It cannot be. It cannot be healthy. All right? For our development. And remember, as when we have our issues, we need to set aside time to discuss them. Whether it's in the family, at the workplace, at church, we need to set aside time to discuss the issues. Yes. And make sure we share our side of the story and listen to the other person's side. That's showing respect. And let's not attack the person. Attack the problem. Deal with the problem. Yes. Put it aside. Put it behind you. And move on. And one caller called in last week and on the matter of can we ever forgive and forget? And my response to that is that yes, we can choose we can forgive, yes, as hard as it may be, but we can choose to forget. And when I say forget, I don't mean that it's lost somewhere in our brain. We choose that choice not to bring it up again. That remember you did this to me, remember you did that to me. We just forgive the person and move on. All right? So we choose to forget. We can forgive and we can forget if we choose to forget what was done to us. And again, it is healthy for us than carrying all those baggages. It's not good for the heart. We can develop heart disease, yes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses if we choose to carry around all those baggages. All right? Be willing, the offender must be willing to apologize. It must be willing to apologize, and don't feel less of a person if you apologize. No, it means that you're confident enough so you can say to the person, I am sorry. I am sorry, and it's okay. And the persons when someone apologizes to you, you should accept the apology and don't behave as though it's not important, I don't need it and I don't want it. No, the correct thing to do is that if someone apologizes to you, you should accept. The Bible said we should forgive 70 times 7, not true? Yes, and we need that forgiveness, that level of forgiveness from the Lord. So we should be ready and willing to forgive others. All right, I see my other half coming to share. And one of the problems with unforgiveness is the whole matter of when persons are unfaithful. Yes, a gentleman may be unfaithful to his wife, or the wife is unfaithful to the lady. That's one of the big problem in marriages, when there is unfaithfulness in the relationship. And someone may ask, how is it that a man um, will behave unfaithful and have several women? Yes? And so he believes that the woman should accept that in our Caribbean culture. Yes. However, if the woman or if the wife decides that I am going to go out there and I'm going to get equal with you, and I'm going to, or probably just for the first time become unfaithful, our Caribbean men, they can't deal with it. They can't handle it. Why is it so? Yes, the woman is ready and willing to forgive the man if he says, honey, I am so sorry, I made this mistake, I got messed up. And she's ready and willing. However, on the other hand, the gentleman, he's ready to break up the relationship. He said, I just can't handle it. Why so? We invite you to call in, yes, and to share your views. 421-4675. All right, I'm going to ask Pastor now to share with you. Welcome, Pastor. How are you tonight, sir? Welcome, Pastor, to the counselor. It's good to have you on my program tonight.
Yes.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Yes. All right. All right. So
Well-
we're okay.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this whole matter of infidelity, unfaithfulness in marriage, because that is why that is a big problem for some couples. Infidelity and unfaithfulness in a marriage. But since you have been on the topic of forgiveness for some time now, can your marriage survive after infidelity? Can a marriage survive after infidelity? Essentially, infidelity causes trust to be broken. And when trust is broken, can a marriage survive? Well, Dr. Barry Davidson says the only answer to infidelity, the only answer to this matter of when trust is broken, the only answer, the only cure is forgiveness. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is vital and necessary when trust is broken. Forgiveness. He says, when you forgive the people who hurt you deeply and unfairly, you perform a miracle that has no equal. He says nothing else is the same. Forgiving has its own feel and its own color and its own climax, different from any other creature act in the repertoire of human relationships.
Okay.
Forgiveness is the only cure, because the thing about it is that the person who has been unfaithful, that person cannot undo what they have
was
done.
Right.
So the only cure now is to forgive them, or is to forgive the person.
But is that easy, Pastor? Is that easy?
No, forgiveness is not easy. It is human to err. It is divine to forgive. So it is God who enables us to forgive. Remember, forgiveness, first of all, comes from God. So it is God who enables us to forgive. But the thing about it is that what we're saying, can your marriage survive after trust is broken? Now, remember now, infidelity is the grounds on which you can divorce your partner and marry another.
Right.
Because infidelity breaks the covenant. But you can choose to forgive your partner and move on.
So it's really a choice.
Forgiveness is a choice.
Right. It is.
Forgiveness is a decision. So somebody has to decide if they're going to forgive or not. You know? So we're talking about it. It's not easy. It's not easy. I think infidelity is one of the worst experiences an individual can have. You know, when there's trust in a relationship, there is nothing greater than that.
Right.
You don't have to wonder. You don't have to wonder where your partner is, what they're doing. You know, you don't have to get nervous about anything. If your partner goes abroad, you don't have to worry. I mean, what is happening? When trust is in the relationship, it's like air. You know, it's like oxygen. You're breathing oxygen. You're living. You know. Now, forgiveness is not the same as trust. So you can forgive somebody, but you don't trust them.
Okay.
You can forgive somebody, but you don't trust them. Because forgiveness is not a feeling, you know. Trust can only occur with someone that is safe. Therefore, you can consistently forgive someone, but until that person is safe and ceases acting or speaking in a hurtful way, you cannot trust him or her. Consequently, trust is dependent upon the person that has hurt you, and forgiveness is dependent upon you.
Okay.
So you can forgive your partner if your partner is unfaithful, and you don't trust the partner. Because when trust is broken, trust has to be regained. It has to be rebuilt.
Okay.
It has to be rebuilt over time. So there will now have to be a consistent display of honesty and sincerity.
So in other words, you're saying you have to give the person time for them to start trusting you again.
Well, yes.
Okay.
And you will have to conduct yourself in a manner that is consistent. So, for example, since in most instances it is men who are unfaithful, in most instances, women are unfaithful sometimes, but in most instances. So now, if the man was unfaithful to his wife, and he apologizes and she forgives, but she don't trust him, it means therefore he will now have to begin to conduct himself in a very transparent manner. He will have to now establish some boundaries around himself. He will have to now be open in his communication with his wife.
Right.
His phone, she should be able to check his phone anytime, and there are no surprises.
Okay.
He is to cut off all communication with those who had caused the infidelity in the first place. If there's a tendency for people to call him and, and there are, activities, discussions, words, exchanges that are not healthy for a married person, he needs to establish a boundary and tell people, listen, I'm married, I'm not interested in that, I don't want to hear that, don't call my phone, don't say those things, don't text me. If needs be, he needs to change his number or block those people, that kind of thing. Because you have to demonstrate to your partner that you are serious, and you have to be consistent. If you say to your wife, I'm coming home at 5, you need to be home at 5.
I know in some cases, probably the husband may even ask the wife to speak with the person. If the wife have doubt and so on, or probably you're seeing this person, to speak with the person. So that will probably cause the person to feel more relaxed that, okay, nothing is going on between these two.
Well, I suppose that kind of relationship might exist because sometimes some wives are so distressed they would never want anything to do with the person who would have invaded their marriage. But again, you have different situations because sometimes it's the husband who pursue and the poor lady gave in, but it's not like she wanted to have invaded the marriage or anything like that. So it's important. Now, what if a husband became unfaithful? He recognized his wrong. He comes back to his wife and he's remorseful. He apologizes to her and makes a commitment to live faithfully. She accepts his apology and she says, I forgive you. Let's move on. Now, what is expected in a situation like that?
Well, I think the husband then needs to give her some time to heal. All right? Because she's hurting that you did this. And so, first of all, you need to give me some time to heal.
What does that mean?
All right, so I'm angry, I'm annoyed, I'm disappointed with what you have done, with your unfaithfulness. So I need some time to deal with my hurt, my pain. Yes, you apologize to me and so on, and I'm going to forgive you, but I want some time to heal. You understand? Because I guess that's where the time span comes in. A person decide I am hurting so much, I'm not ready to accept your apology.
You're not ready to be healed.
I guess that's what.
You're not ready to be healed. Because you see, the truth is, forgiveness. Sometimes, depending on the situation, it will become a process.
Right.
Sometimes it's instantaneous. Sometimes it takes time. But the thing is that if you forgive your spouse,
right,
what it means is that you have removed the wrong.
Right.
Okay. Now,
you have released.
You have released your spouse. Because that's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness comes from the Greek word, which means to release the sinner and let him go free. So if you have released your spouse, you have released your spouse to start over, to start being honest now.
They give them a clean sheet.
Right. And but you remember what I said earlier, forgiveness does not mean trust.
Okay.
Because
so is that the trust will not come back to that level?
No, and trust can surpass the level it was at the beginning.
Okay.
But trust, for you to trust, you have to feel safe. So it is your spouse who was unfaithful who now needs to conduct him or herself in a manner to convince you that they have changed. They will now have to be consistent in their behavior. But the point, one of the concerns I have though, is that if you have forgiven me as your spouse, and you've told me that I have forgiven you. Yes, you don't trust me because I may have lied several times, I may have lied repeatedly and all of that sort of thing, and so on. Fine. Okay. But I'm coming clean now, and I want to be faithful to you now.
Well, sorry,
If
before you go, why is it that husbands would lie several times over and over about a particular situation as it relates to probably the wife may ask him, oh, are you involved with this person? And he said, no, no, no. Why?
Well, let's face it, the idea behind infidelity is that, generally speaking, people want it to be a secret because you want to have your cake and eat it. So you want your wife at home and you want this person on the side. And you would want to enjoy the best of both worlds. Okay. Now, you want your wife to consider you this faithful, loyal, loving husband. And so if somebody tells her that your husband have somebody, yeah, he's not going to be amused. He's going to, because he's protecting his ego, protecting his image, protecting all of these things, you know. So he's going to try to cover his tracks and try to maintain that image.
Right, right.
Okay. Now, anyway, all of that facade is blown away because he's exposed. Fine. And he now comes clean and he confesses everything and he bears his soul and she hears everything and they both cry and so on. And he promises her that, you know what, I'm going to be faithful to you. I'm going to be a one burner man. I am going to remain true. Now, how should his wife, who has declared her forgiveness of him, relate to him?
Well, I think she should start. Tell him first of all, verbalize after she deal with her pain and so on. She should bring herself to the point where she could say to him, honey, you have done this to me. I was really hurt about what you did, but I have forgiven you. I think literally saying it will help. And then the actions now to show that, yes, I have released you, I've forgiven you. I am now going to start trusting you, which I know is not easy. You know, that's going to take time again to start trusting the person. But I think verbalizing it is key.
Well, one of the things that must be said about forgiveness is that forgiveness has to be verbal and it has to be specific.
Yeah.
So usually when I have a couple and infidelity is why they came to see me. As we work through the issues, when we get to the point where there is now going to be confession, apology. Well, people have to apologize. The apology has to be specific. What are you apologizing for?
Right. Because not just I'm sorry. But
no, it can't be just I'm sorry. Yeah, you have to say, you have to state what you're apologizing for, because the person who's forgiving you has to forgive you for specific things, and they have to state what it is that they're forgiving you for. And when they forgive you, you are able now to move on. Now, it must be said that if a wife forgives her husband, if you get to the place, remember now, you're hurting all of this while and so on, and usually the pain gets more intense. Before you have these kinds of conversations where he would probably admit and apologize and so on, usually the pain is greater before all of that, especially if it is somebody you don't know. The pain might not be as intense.
Right.
If it's like your best friend, it is worse. That kind of thing. And but when you get to the point where you're able to talk about it, you probably went to a counselor, you're able to work through it. And I find, in dealing with couples who have suffered from infidelity, what I find is that when they come to see me, and you allow them to talk, and especially the person who has been hurt, the person who suffered the infidelity, and you allow them to talk, and they would go back into the history of when I suspected first and all, and you allow people to talk, because I realize it's the you're talking about individuals now sharing what is on their heart. They're venting and they're...
Just hold a minute, please, Reverend Thomas. Just inviting our listeners that you can call in even while we're having this discussion. The number is 876-421-4675. You can call in, air your views, or ask your questions as we have this discussion, all right? We're going to finish at 10 o'clock, so please call in.
Okay, so people would share and so on. And what I've found is that when individuals are allowed the opportunity to share their heart and their disappointment and their pain, and sometimes they cry and we have to give tissue if they don't have nothing to wipe their face. But after they've gone through that, and I have found that as the person who's hurt pours out their heart, all right, and their spouse is usually there beside them, broken and really remorseful, I have found that when it is that person's time to talk, and I find in a number of instances, the man would just say, all she has said is true. I'm not taking away anything from what it is true. And I really should not have done that, and I'm really sorry. And I find that when we get to that point, I give them an opportunity to just turn the chairs in my office, and they would sit and face each other. All right, and I'm saying, all right, wife, please tell him how you feel about what he has done. Tell him what has hurt you. And she would say, list the things. And I'm saying, no, all right, husband, you need to talk to your wife now. And you need to now apologize for the things you have done wrong, and you have to be specific about them. And I have found that in those instances, when the man has been remorseful, been honest, and he apologizes, because the lady was able to vent earlier,
Right.
release the pent-up emotion and the anger and the disappointment,
Right.
she's now at a place where she's ready
To accept.
to accept the apology and to forgive. All right? And usually right there, they would embrace each other, sometimes cry. And I'm saying, go ahead, when they finish, and so on. Now, it's important that a wife understands. If you say to your husband, I have forgiven you, let's move on. All right? That you now are going to be loving to him and caring of him.
Don't lock shop on him.
No,
And don't lock shop on him.
No, the point is, if it is infidelity that caused the trouble, if you withhold yourself from him, what are you doing? You're pushing him back out.
Yes.
Right,
yes,
so you can't do
yes,
that.
yes.
The thing is, like I said before, forgiveness does not mean trust. So you may not trust him.
Yeah.
And that's understandable. You will regain that trust over time. But you're going to have to encourage him. Sorry. So he says, I'm coming home. I'm coming home at 5, and he comes home at 5. And you say, I appreciate that.
Right.
I appreciate that. He says he's going to call you As soon as he gets to work, he's going to call you. When he gets to work, he calls you. You're saying, I appreciate that. Because each time he does what he says he's going to do, he's depositing
Building up your
love
trust.
units in your love
Trust bank.
tank.
And your
Yes,
trust bank.
yes. And the trust begins to be rebuilt. Yes? And when he puts down his phone, you can answer it, you can check it. And when you check it, you don't see anything in there. That is to cause your blood pressure to be raised. That's all. Your trust starts to be rebuilt.
Right.
Yes? That sort of thing. And over time,
What if in the process you just go right back and do that and not commit another sin, like become unfaithful again?
Well-
While your trust bank is building up and so on.
right. Well, the husband has to decide. And I said to husbands, you have to decide who you want. And I say to men, before you marry this lady, make up your mind. Because if you don't want her, go to who you want. Because it doesn't make sense. Why would you be with your wife and going with somebody else? Make up your mind. Because remember now, infidelity, according to Matthew 19 verse 9, infidelity is the grounds on which the scripture allows for divorce and remarriage. Infidelity. So really, if you are gracious enough to forgive your spouse who has been unfaithful, and they decide that unfaithfulness is going to become their lifestyle, well, you have a choice to make.
Right, right.
You have a choice to make if you can live with that. You have to make that choice. Nobody can make that for you. But that is one of the reasons why I'm saying that a wife who accepts the apology from her husband and extends forgiveness to him cannot afford to withhold herself from him,
Right,
because if
right.
she does, she's going to be pushing him back in the arms of somebody else.
And to be taken care of, like washing his clothes, cooking his meal, and so on.
Yeah, man, but you are forgiven. I mean, the Bible says the Lord forgive us and removes our sins from us as far as the east and from the west and remembers them no more. So if you're forgiving your husband, you're forgiving him. Let's move on, But the husband has a role to play, because he would need now to begin to conduct himself in a manner that is going to be encouraging to his wife, inspiring to her, and motivating.
Right. Let's look on the flip side, though, Pastor. What
Yes.
if it's the wife who is unfaithful?
You made a point earlier that especially Jamaican men are not seem not to be at the place to deal with their wives being unfaithful. And I have had a number of instances, not many, but a number of instances where women became unfaithful. And although the unfaithfulness of the woman was in retaliation of the man's repeated unfaithfulness, when the man heard that his wife was unfaithful, it devastated him so much that he was not able to go any further.
Why so?
I think a
Why
part,
so?
I think a part of it is ego. That men have fragile egos. So to hear that another man has plowed his garden,
Ah,
he is wroth. He is disappointed. And then there's a notion in Jamaica which says that a woman can't do what a man does and still remains a lady. So there's that notion. So if a lady becomes unfaithful, it for a man it is the most disgraceful thing that she could do. And then worse, if other people are aware of she being unfaithful, he has lost all his pride and his because another man is plowing his garden.
And like he'll be laughed at and so on.
Well, but a lot of it has to do with ego. His ego is now deflated. When he's unfaithful to his wife, the idea is that he has two burners. He has two burners.
Okay.
Yeah, he's going on two burners.
And he feels good about that.
Yeah, man, he feels macho about it. And if she dares to do that, of course, one thing Dr. Davidson points out, he says that there's no such thing as revenge. So if a wife's husband is unfaithful to her and she decides that she's going to revenge him by becoming unfaithful, all she's doing is disgracing herself.
Okay.
I mean, he has already disgraced himself by doing that. So she's not going to be even with him. She's only cheapening herself. So she has to take the high road and maintain her dignity and her worth.
Because it's very much harder for a man to forgive.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I mean, the men who have forgiven their wives who were unfaithful to them probably can be counted on one hand, and you have fingers left. Because generally speaking, women are very faithful. Women are committed. Women are not into these games. Most times, women are faithful creatures who are committed to their husbands, and they really, once they settle down, they're committed to their husbands and so on. In most instances. But something I want to say. I want to say to wives as well, because if you're forgiving your husband, be careful of the things you say to him. Women, because women are weaker than men, generally speaking.
Strong with their mouth.
Yes, and sometimes the women say things that hurt the men deeply. In fact, in counseling, we call it, we say they emasculate the men, rob them of their manhood because of the unkind things they say. And I'm saying, be careful of what you say to your husband. You may be upset with the things he has done, but don't respond to it. If you want him to continue living with you, you cannot afford now to so abuse him with your mouth that he loses his interest in you. Because when we talk about a man being emasculated, being robbed of his manhood, it does mean that he does not have sexual desire anymore, It's just that he don't have none for you.
Right.
All right? And what I have found is that sometimes ladies have to be careful, because I find sometimes that women who might be in a superior position to their husbands, all right, sometimes they use words to their husbands and they say things, unkind things to their husband, and their husbands are so hurt, all right, that their husbands become turned off from them.
Is that harder to forgive than,
Well, you know what? It is exceptionally difficult, because a man who is hurt emotionally, remember, men have fragile egos, and women need to be saying nice things to their men to keep the man going, to boost him. For example, give you a simple example. Let's say a husband came home and in lovemaking, a husband felt he's tired, and so he didn't perform well. If the wife were to say, I want you, after you're not doing with nothing, that could deflate the man's ego in such a way that tomorrow when him not tired or nothing, him still can't perform because of what she said to him.
Okay. What if she apologizes to him?
No, sure. I mean, apologizes to him and says, I'm sorry, I never meant it that way. It's just that he could come around. But I'm just saying, the words women use to their husbands are important, um, a lady who spoke down to to her partner, and really tell him some unkind things, and he just reach a point where him can't take it anymore. And she found that he was coming to bed and he was not even looking at her. She come into the bed with the most skimpy things, the most sexy things, and him don't see her. She's concerned, and then she starts to investigate, and she finds out that he is along with whom she calls the Scoial.
Okay.
Now, although she's an upstanding lady, earning good money and all of that, her mouth, she used her mouth to beat him down in such a way that he no longer had desire for her. And then she says, in describing the Scoial, I mean, that's what she said. She said, if you see our, yeah, that's what she's saying. Because she's saying that lady not in my category. But you know what happened? That lady shows him respect. That lady not telling him any dirty thing and anything. That lady telling him how him nice and how she love him. And look at your moustache and look at your beard.
Maybe look at your moustache. I love your moustache.
No, honestly. And so sometimes wives become upset. And sometimes they're upset. Because sometimes as men not pulling their weight and not doing what they're supposed to do and so on. And in response to their husbands, they say unkind things.
Yes.
And it hurt men deeply and pushes them away. So sometimes infidelity, sometimes the genesis of infidelity, and probably, one program we may need to look at the nature of infidelity and just what it is, how it is, and so on. But sometimes infidelity, sometimes infidelity is caused from the way a man is treated by his upstanding wife, who is not paying him much mind, who telling him unkind things. She not cursing bad words, No, she don't curse bad words, but she tell him some other things that are unkind. Hurt the man deeply. But the same man have a little young miss who is very respectful to him and just admires him and tells him all the nice things that his upstanding wife is not telling him. And sometimes she is the one who pushes him away into the arms of somebody else just by virtue of her attitude. Yeah?
Boy, we have to continue this next week. Any callers who want to call us in? We have just about 5 minutes to go. We have to continue with this next week because Pastor's getting into some deep stuff. All right. I want to show you about August. Right, so yes, we are inviting persons to call in. And last week I did share with you that we are going to be having the counselor for this month every other Thursday night. So we have one more Thursday night to go in this month. Yes, for this program. But for the month of August, let Pastor share with you about for the month of August. What's going to happen for August?
Well, I'll be on leave in August. So I wouldn't be on the counselor's program.
All right, so we are going to take a break, listeners, viewers, for the month of August. Right. So we'll give you some time to rest while we get some time to rest. So all the programs will be
off air
for the month of August. All right, but we have to continue with Pastor for next week, Thursday. All right, as we look at the whole matter of unforgiveness in relationships, especially wife and husband relationship
Infidelity.
and infidelity. Yes, you know. So we thank you so much for watching us and listening to us. And any callers, any questions? Right. All right. So we want to bless you as we wrap up. Any last word to your...
Well, what I'd say is that it's human to err, it's divine to forgive.
Yes.
And we really should, the Bible says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us.
Powerful.
And so forgiveness should be the desire of our hearts. We should seek to forgive each other. But I'm saying, where a partner decides that infidelity is going to be a way of life for them, the other partner has a choice to make. Because you run the risk of exposing yourself to all kinds of not only diseases, but the stress from it can now bring on all kinds of illnesses that you can avoid.
Right.
So if you forgive and your partner decides to continue to live that way, you may have to make a choice. However, I would say try and get some help first.
Right.
Get counseling, right? If the individual has made up their minds that this is the lifestyle they want, well, you can't do anything about that because you can't change that. You will have to leave them, and then you just have to commit them to the Lord and let the Lord deal with them. But you know, you don't want to live your life perpetually in stress and distress and crying every day, and no, you know. But as you say, we can continue next week.
Most definitely.
Okay.
I want to thank Reverend Thomas so much for coming on our program tonight and to make it exciting and informative. All right, so please join us next week, Thursday night at 9 p.m. as we continue to look at the whole matter of unforgiveness and infidelity. Thank you so much. Have a great night. The Lord bless you.